Hi everyone, it's Bev DeBono, and I've got a great technique for us, and this is called Mosaic Frames. Now, this original idea came from one of our Creative Memories blog contributor, and her name is Sachi Omitsu, and she created this one, which I recreated with a winter scene. But I wanted to actually take it and show you how different it looks just with different papers. So this is the All-American Blast, which I've been having a lot of fun with lately. I love the colors in this pack. And then this one happened to be just a combination of a bunch of Creative Memory Summer and Beach papers. Tropic Time, Boho Escape, Pineapples and Palms. You see, what I love about Creative Memories is that all of our papers coordinate so well together from past collections and future ones. So what I'm going to do, the one I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to do a Halloween one, and I'm going to combine a bunch of different collections as well. So this is what you need to get started. You're going to need a base paper and a cardstock you're going to need. And then you're going to need another cardstock that you can build the frame on. And then you are going to need, and so usually what I have found is that if you take the same cardstock for the base and then build the frame using the same color, that's perfect because when you place these pieces, it looks like it's all seamless and that it's one piece of paper, but it's really two different sheets. We have the base and then we have the hollow frame that's going to get taped on top. Okay, so you need two matching cardstock. All right, and then I am going to take four coordinating colors and line them up to see how you like the colors to the order of the colors. Okay, so I am using several different Creative Memories Halloween collections from over the years. And I'm just lining up some of the colors for four different designer papers. And I just want to see the progression of how the colors are going to look. So this is what's going to take the longest time. And I think you just play around with the colors. You see, if I put the purple here next to the black one, it doesn't pop as much. Okay, but if I move the orange in between, you could really see now the polka dots on the black and the candy corns and the stars. Okay, so play around with the order of your colors until you feel comfortable with the order of how you're going to do it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take I'm going to set the base aside. Okay, so there's one that we're going to use for the base. I'm going to set that one aside. All right, and then the second piece, we are going to cut to 11.5 by 11.5. Okay, 11.5 by 11.5. And then I'm going to do a 2-inch hollow frame. Okay, so let's start that. I'm going to open my arm. 11.5, one side. Make sure you're all the way to the tippy top. Okay. And you might say, well, why don't you just cut off a 1/2 inch off of it? Well, because with cardstock, sometimes you do have a little variance, and I want to make sure that this is going to be nice and square. Okay, then turn it to the left. And now cut that at 11.5 again. 11.5 again. Okay, so you're only cutting two sides. Okay, so you have 11.5 by 11.5. And now I'm going to cut a 2-inch hollow frame from the middle of this square. All right. So I'm going to put my arm back down. I'm going to get my 2 binder clips. Okay, my 2 binder clips. And I'm going to put one at the top of the housing unit. This is your housing unit that slides back and forth. And then I'm going to put one at the bottom of the housing unit to make a little fence here so that my housing unit can't go past it, so I can make a 2-inch hollow frame. Okay, so I'm going to put my paper at the 2-inch mark on the left side. The 2-inch mark on the left side. Okay. Now I know I want my blade to start cutting at the 2-inch mark. Okay, so I want my blade to start cutting at the 2-inch mark. So that means my housing unit, and this is my housing unit, the bottom of my housing unit has to start at the 3-inch mark. And the reason for that is that when you look at the side of the trimmer, there is a white line there, and that is exactly where the blade will cut. And that is 1 inch from the top of the housing and 1 inch from the bottom of the housing. Okay, see that white line? So I'm going to put my binder clip, I'm going to take the bottom of my housing, line it up to the 3-inch mark, bottom of my housing to the 3-inch mark. Okay, and then I'm going to put my binder clip behind it at the top of the housing on one of the rails. Okay, so I'm not going to start cutting this at the top. It's going to stop the housing from going all the way to the top. Okay, now I needed 2 inches from the bottom, but remember we cut off a 1/2 inch. So I'm at 11.5 and I need it to stop at 9.5. I need my blade to stop at 9.5. So when you get to the bottom, you have to add 1 inch to the bottom. So my blade needs to stop at 9.5. That means my housing unit has to stop, the front of my housing has to stop at 10.5. Okay, because we already cut a 1/2 inch off. Okay, so I'm going to move it to front of my housing to 10.5. And now I'm going to put a binder clip in front of it. In front of it at the 10.5 inch mark. Sorry, my camera keeps moving today for whatever reason. Okay, so now we've effectively made a gate. So our cutter cannot go past the little fence here that we made, and we're not cutting all the way to the top and the bottom. Okay, so here we go. Bottom of the housing at 3 inches. Press down, come down to the front of your housing. The bottom of your housing is at 10.5. Okay, turn to the left. The left. 2-inch mark again. Okay, and when you have the binder clips, it really helps because you just have to go from the top binder clip down to the bottom binder clip. Okay, turn to the left again. So you see we are making a 2-inch hollow frame. And that is what we're going to build our frame, our mosaic frame on, is this hollow frame. Okay, we're on the left again, 2-inch mark. Bottom of your housing at 3 inches. All the way down, bottom of your housing at 10.5. Turn to the left one last time, 2-inch mark. Bottom of your housing at 3 inches, bottom of your housing at 10 and a half. Okay, so now you have your 2-inch hollow frame, and this piece, if at some point you want to add more mats, if it was in a different color, you could do that. Okay, so you can remove your binder clips now. Okay, and now from your 4 designer papers, you need to cut 4 by 12-inch strips. Okay, so just put it at the 4-inch mark, and we're cutting 4 different strips. This one might already be 4 inches. I'm going to double check that. Nope, just a little off. Okay, and then my last one. I had a decorative blade at the edge there, so I had to straighten that out. So I am using 4-inch 4 by 12, 4 different papers, 4 by 12. Okay. All right, now we're going to cut this on the diagonal, but we're not going to cut it. We're going to measure it first. All right, so I want you to stack 2 together. Okay, I want you to stack 2 together. All right, and then flip them over. Flip them over, line them up on your mat. And I want to mark at the top. I want to mark 1 inch in from the right side. Just put a pencil mark at about 1 inch in. And on the bottom, put a pencil mark at 1 inch, 1 inch in from the left. Okay, so I've got 1 inch at the top marked, 1 inch on the bottom marked. 2 different sides, because we're going to cut it now on the diagonal on that 1 inch mark. Okay, so I'm going to put this in my trimmer. I'm going to line my pencil mark on my cut line. I'm going to line one at the top and one on the bottom. Okay, so we're not cutting on an exact diagonal. We've got 1 inch hanging over each side. 1 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom, and you're putting those pencil marks on the cut line. Okay, and then you can flip it back over to the colors that you're using. So you see, you don't have a point here. We have kind of a squared off edge there. Okay, and I'm going to do it with the next 2 colors that I have. Okay, flip them over with your pencil. Your top 1 inch in from the right. Your bottom 1 inch in from the left. So your marks are top and bottom. Okay, I'm now going to put that pencil mark on my cut lines and have my papers on the diagonal. All right, and then flip them back over and you've got your colors. Okay, so keep them in the order. I found that that is definitely easier when it's still in the order that I'm going to keep them in. Okay, and now I'm going to start laying them on this frame. Okay, and every time I do this, it looks different. So yours is going to look different from mine, and it's fine as long as you keep your order. You'll be okay. Okay, so I have found the easiest way to do this. Okay, instead of putting tape behind every single strip. The easiest way to do this is just to take your repositionable tape, and you can run two solid lines, one near the bottom and one very close to the inside of the frame. Okay. And for me, for good measure, I'm adding a third because I just have a tape thing. Okay. So I'm going to start with one edge first. All right. I'm going to start from my left, go to the right. I'm going to start with one of the big edges here. And it doesn't, it's not going to be all the same. I'm just going to line it up. I'm just going to line it up on top of my frame here. You see, so it's going to overlap a little bit. Everyone's going to be different. It's okay if it doesn't, and it's over the edge here because I'm trying to do a square edge out of a diagonal cut. Okay. And then I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to clip off a little bit of the tail. Okay, just so I don't have so much of that tail hanging out. It's just easier to manage the paper. Okay, now I'm going to do a smaller strip, and I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch in between your two strips. Okay, so if you can get it right to the edge of the frame, the middle of the frame, that's good. Otherwise, we're going to clip them all off anyway. So you can start getting it to the edge there. And this is what I mean, lining up your top edge to the edge here. But after a while, that's not gonna happen. So, I'm going to clip that off. Okay, my next color, I'm going to use my next color in line. Again, about 1/8 of an inch apart. And you want to vary between some of the wide. I have a wide, a thin. I mean, there's no, it's fun because you can make them any kind of like any um, width. So I'm going to, this fourth one, instead of putting it here, and it's going to all three in a row be the same size, I'm just going to move it up a little bit. So this one has a little bit, it's a little wider, just to give it some variation. Okay. So you see, so it's not all the same width. Okay, and I'm just going to clip off these tails. I find that it's just easier to work with when and we're going to even the tails out later, but this way you just can handle it. It's easier to handle that way. Okay, so now I have my first 4 colors. Now I'm going to start repeating my colors again. And we're just going to keep going around and around. 1/8 of an inch in between. Okay, then my next color. And it's okay, you're going to overlap. They're not all going to line up on that inner frame edge. That's fine. We're just going to clip them later. Just so long as you keep your order. Okay, and then I'm ready to make another row of repo tape. All right, I'm going to turn it to the side. I'm going to add my other color here. Is going to be well, sometimes you have to lift it up and move it around a little bit. Like this one was just not where it needed to be. It's sticking out. There we go. Okay. So now as you start getting into the around the corners, it you may have to adjust it a little bit. I might just go back to doing. I'll just play with it. It's either going to go right on there. And it's okay if it doesn't line up exactly, as long as you have your spacing in between. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to get rid of these tails now because it just makes it a little bit easier to handle, because we're going to add more sides to it and then it just gets overwhelming. Flip it over and then you can cut right alongside the frame. The reason I'm not using this on my 12-inch trimmer is because I have all that excess repositionable tape on the black frame, and I don't want to get all that tape on my trimmer. Okay, so now I've got that one edge. All right, and now with my micro tip scissor, I'm now going to do the inside. The inside. Flip your tails on the inside. Okay, and then line them up. Line it up on your frame. Okay, it's easier to do, otherwise you'll have too many tails sticking out. It's easier to do each side as it goes. Like I said, otherwise you'll have too many tails sticking out and it's hard to maneuver the paper then and get an exact cut. Okay, so you see it's starting to take shape. We've got one row done. Okay, and just keep your order going. Sometimes I forget because the paper, I move the paper all around. All right, so I think I'm going to go back to a thin one again. Okay, and then maybe another thin one. And now I see I'm trying to get it back to where it's going to be straight, a little straighter again. So I may have to clip that a little bit. Yeah, just play with it. So now I need like kind of a thicker one, right? So I'm gonna maybe try to go with the thicker one. And then I'll go back to a thin one again. And I'm going to try to get it to be a little straighter. And sometimes you have to just, you know, play with it. I'm thinking that I want it to be a little, I'm going to move this one because I don't like how it's looking. I want to try to get it back to be a little more square. So I'm just going to turn it. There you go. Okay, now I'm going to try to get it again a little bit more square. And I might be able to do that with. There we go. So play with your pieces. Okay, and I'm just going to cut a little bit off so that I can see what I'm doing here. All right, and then my next one is that corner. So the corners, you can try to do a big one, a small one, doesn't really matter. I'm putting more tape. Let's see, what's my order? Oh, I think I'll do a big one. Um, I'm going to have that be just a little. There we go. So I'm going to try to get back to where it's going to be almost square again. Okay, so it's not as going to be as slanted. Um, you just play with your strips because you got varying widths here. Okay, so now I'm going to continue along. Here we go. Got that one. And then I'm going to do this guy. And when you have your frame be the same color as your base paper, it will hide a lot of, if it's not exactly perfectly lined up, it will hide it because you're using um, the same base and the same frame. So it's going to look a little bit more seamless. Okay, so just vary the widths. You got a small one, a big one, a small one, a big one. I'm just going to flip this over and cut some of my tails now. So this is great for a wonderful title page or to start an album. I see this as something you could put an invitation on, like if you were doing a wedding, or something like that, or a baby announcement or a shower. I think something like that would be fun. Um, these are all wonderful, wonderful colors. Halloween for like a costume contest, that'd be kind of fun too. Okay, and I'm just going to take my micro tip and I'm going to cut inside the frame. I've tried to cut these on the trimmer, but like I said, there's a lot of repo tape residue that gets stuck all over your trimmer. That's the first thing. Secondly, with all the tails sticking out, it's really hard to line it up on your um, on the lines. So sometimes going back to the fussy cutting might not be so bad. And like I said, I found that not saving that all the way to the end, just trying to keep up with it a little bit helps a little bit. Okay, so I'm about, 3/4 of the way done. So let's see, I'm now going to add more tape to the last section there. Oh, let's see, what color am I looking for now? Okay. So my fourth color. Yep, and just keep on building. Okay, this is a small one. And also use it this way. What fun is that? And then I'll just cut it this way. I don't know if I like that one there. I might flip that one around. I think what I'm going to do is make this piece a little bit bigger. So sometimes you have to just adjust. I'm going to make it that big. I think that will even it out a little bit more. Okay. This is why we have 4 strips instead of just one, so that you can play with it. Okay, that is much better. Now I can do my side piece here, my edge, and that worked out. Yeah, so sometimes you just have to play with the sizing just so that you get it, you get it to where you want it. And there's no right or wrong way. It's thin, it's thick, it's thin, it's thick. I'm going to put this guy this way. All righty. And now I'm going to do this one. Okay. And then that little piece that I had taken out, I'm going to put that back there. And there we go. And then your last piece, you might have to do a little fudging there, which is fine. So we might have to just cut a little bit off, or I'm going to just take it to the side like that. And sometimes that works. Move it to the side. And then I just fold it back to see where it's going to fit on the frame. And then I'll cut it for that last piece because you're trying to fit that in the place that's remaining. There we go. All right, and now all that's left is for us to clear all of this goodness here. I'm going to flip it over, cut off all my tails. And then decide on what background I want to use. I'm probably going to stick with the black, only because it will cover up any place that I didn't get exactly to the corner, or if there's any variance in the strips, or how when I laid it out, maybe I didn't do exactly 1/8 of an inch, maybe whatever variances I have, if I use the same base, it will hide all of that. But I'll show you 2 different ways. And then so this is a fun one. And then once you're done, so this is great when you have like some pieces left. You don't have a lot, but you have some pieces. Wow, that's really fun. That's a really fun Halloween border, frame border, right? So this is what I'm going to show you. So I'm going to put this on black, and you can see how, because I use the same one, how much it really pops it by doing it on the same color when your frame and your base are the same. It's kind of seamless and it looks like you just built it right on the page itself. I'm going to show you the variation here, and I'm going to use a purple so that you can see how that looks. Okay, both are nice. My preference is for the base and the frame to be the same color. And then I might use this purple as my insert in the middle. Okay, so before I do that, I'm going to take my pickup square. And the pickup square is something I believe you can get from your advisor. Um, and I'm just going to lightly erase any, okay, any of that gum residue. You could also wipe it with your thumb, you know, any of the excess repo tape that's flitting around. Okay, so this way your page isn't going to be sticking to anything else. And sometimes it's just easier just to use your finger. I also use this to clean any of the repositionable tape, little dots, off my mat. See? Okay, so you want to do that so that you're not sticking to anything. The page before you. Just a little bit. Doing this really is still faster than trying to put tape behind every single strip individually. And if you try to put tape down the whole strip and then you've got it sticking onto other pieces of the frame, it does not make that process any easier. So I have found this, for me, this is how it works better. Okay. And once you finish that, now you're ready to tape it onto your base. And I'm going to go ahead and use the matching. I'm putting extra tape on it only because I don't like it flipping up. Okay, there we go. How nice is that? I really like that. And if you're going to look for a piece that's going to go in the middle, that is going to measure 7¼ by 7¼ Okay, so I might cut a piece of that purple, but I kind of like the way that it's much more tonal. But on some of them, I did cut a piece out, such as with this All-American Blast. I did cut a piece out in the middle, and that piece is 7¼ by 7¼ Okay, so now you have a lot of flexibility here with your photos. You know, you can fit 4x6s, you can do, you know, 3½ by 3½s on there. It really works really well. Okay, and all you have to do now is just add a little bit of decoration. I'm going to put a title here, Happy Haunting, and then some pumpkins down here on the side. Maybe I'll move this up. I might back it. And there we go. Okay, so I hope that you liked the technique, which is called Mosaic Frames. And tell me which one you like the best. Did you like the Halloween frame? Did you like the patriotic one? This is with All American Blast. Did you like the winter one? Or did you like the summer beach one? Okay, so my name is Bev DeBono. My YouTube channel is Bev DeBono Designs. Please subscribe to my channel. I post a video almost every week. If you're not currently working with a Creative Memories advisor, I would be very honored if you would order from my website. The information's in the comment section. And if you're looking to join an advisor team, please follow the link that's also in the comments. Okay, I hope to see you again soon. Good night.